Good morning, good morning, good morning, everyone. Merry stupid o'clock. We all survived Thanksgiving. Welcome to another episode of Spilling Tea. I'm your host, Tiffany Daniels. And as always, at stupid o'clock, we're going back to that horrible world known as the JRC. But before we get going this morning, a few of the usual disclaimers. First off, for the letter we're going to be taking a look at for the Division of Medicaid and Children's Health Operations, Boston Regional Office. I do want to let you know that you are going to find the link to this letter right there in the description box, along with the other pertinent links to the Stop the Shocks campaign, including Autistic Hoya's massive archive on the subject, which as you can see here, that's where this is coming from this morning, as well as the bulk of the material on the JRC that we go over on this channel. We also have the templates. Folks, sign your name, click on your senator. Takes less than 2 minutes. We are trying to end seclusion, adversive therapies, and improper restraints in schools. It does claim lives every year. We do have the ever-present change.org Shut the Judge Rotenberg Center Down petition, which I believe the very name is self-explanatory. When we are talking about the JRC, folks, trigger warning. You're going to hear vivid descriptions of and see clips of surveillance footage of people with disabilities being tortured and abused. If you have young children present, please use your headphones. And folks, it is 3:09 a.m. stupid o'clock in the morning. I am already stressed out to my maximum input here. And I am barely awake, so if I stumble over any of my words this morning, my apologies in advance, alright? So, this letter was sent out July the 11th of 2012, so not long after the Andre McCollins video went viral. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it. Everyone remember to have your calming tea. I'm gonna need mine today. It says, Dear Dr. Bigby, this letter is a request for additional information necessary for the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services to evaluate the Home and Community-Based Services HCBS waiver programs that provide services to individuals in 18 years and older with mental retardation, really in 2012, mental retardation. Can we say it with me now? Intellectual disabilities. Come on. CMS control numbers Massachusetts 0826R00, MA 0827 ROO 0828 ROO. Thank you for the documentation provided to date by the Office of Medicaid. We have enclosed a list of questions for which we require supplementary information and data. So let me get this straight here. Medicaid pays them for this shit? And you are not requiring them to have much better trained staff than that. I mean, I knew Medicaid had left much to be desired, but goddamn. Really? We have recently learned details about aversive interventions and deprivation procedures imposed on children and adults who may be enrolled in these Medicaid waiver programs or who may be receiving services reimbursed with Medicaid funding through the Department of Developmental Services and or local education authorities. Just learned. For the love of God, Medicaid, you are a federal agency. Wouldn't you think it would be a good idea to investigate anything like this that you were involved in funding? Just saying. I mean, over here, Medicaid would work in partnership with the state to make sure that people were receiving their medicine properly and that a home was operating the way it should, all the time. I was a part of several of those group home visits, and not all of them were official. Freaking seriously? Although the information on this letter refers specifically to a particular service provider, this request for additional information encompasses any and all providers that impose adverse procedures and receive reimbursement that includes Medicaid funds. Funny how you waited until 2012 to figure this shit out. A provider of residential habitation services, the Judge Rotenberg Center in Canton has been the subject of numerous news articles in the public media. Ah, there we have it. You didn't want to get caught with your hands in the cookie jar. You want to look like you're being responsible. I get it now. It's when a lot of people were saving face. The information we have seen includes a deeply disturbing report issued by the New York State Education Department several years ago, which we've already gone over. In addition, a more recent article indicates that the Judge Rotenberg Center is under investigation by the U.S. Department of Justice Civil Rights Division. Yeah, that went the way of the dodo. This information raises serious concerns about whether the state's implementation of these waiver programs demonstrates substantial compliance with the federal HCBS waiver assurances, including the assurance that the state implements an effective system to protect the health and welfare of HCBS waiver participants. Published descriptions of adverse interventions and deprivation procedures provide a picture of residential settings which cannot be characterized as home-like. If there were ever an understatement, that's it. Insane. Adversive and intrusive interventions reportedly include reported and painful electric shocks, potentially unnecessary restraint and seclusion, and meal deprivation. Questions have also been raised about the adequacy of staff training. I should hope so, considering they only require, even after this, 3 weeks of training, but they receive continuing training on the job, Tiffany. They tell me why a medical assistant has to go through a 6-month program before they are allowed to act in that capacity in an official setting. Why does even a farm tech program require 3 months? Just say. In review of the information we have received, as well as our understanding that state regulations C-115 CMR Chapter 5 permit certain adversive interventions and deprivation procedures to be imposed on people with developmental disabilities and autism, we request additional information about the state's oversight and monitoring of Medicaid participants in the HCBS waivers. While regulation of the residential facilities rests with the state and local authorities, CMS oversight of home and community-based waiver services includes oversight of the state's implementation of systems of quality monitoring for services provided in these settings and reimbursed with the Medicaid federal matching funds. This request includes, but is not limited to, the waivers we are currently reviewing to determine whether the state substantially meets the 6 HCBS waiver assurances described in the federal regulations at 42 CFR 441.302. We would also appreciate adequate information concerning other Medicaid-eligible children and adults receiving Medicaid-funded services and potentially subject to adversive procedures from the same providers. Please respond in writing to this request within 30 days of your receipt of this letter. After reviewing the requested additional information, CMS staff will contact your staff to discuss necessary follow-up activities. Please call blah 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 blah. And then we have an enclosure, which we will go ahead and start going over that tomorrow. But basically what you have here is a federally funded program, Medicaid, right? And you can't have Medicaid only after everything went viral. Go ahead and actually start investigating. Why? Because a lot of us people access our resources, access our services through Medicaid, which in and of itself is its own problem. Because you have a majority of people whose parents or they themselves make too much money to be on Medicaid, but not enough money to actually have insurance. And in order to stay on Medicaid, you have to continue to live beneath the poverty level. But that's its own subject. We'll get into that another day. But Medicaid, people with that waiver, basically JRC was using that waiver to, pay for the quote unquote services these kids were receiving. And finally, apparently in 2012, the Medicaid got the memo and they wanted to see exactly what type of treatment they were actually funding. Now, what I would like to know is why the fuck this place continues to operate when you had offices like Medicaid and the Civil Rights Division gunning for the JRC. How are they still getting this funding? What kind of freaking mental gymnastics did these people come up with to continue to excuse and allow this to continue? And on that note, folks, I know it's short, but we are going to go ahead and close out for this morning. We don't get very many views on this channel, especially on this subject. The few that we do get do tend to get removed from time to time. So, folks, please don't forget to hit that like button, hit subscribe. Don't forget to hit the comment. Feed that algorithm. I do appreciate your time this morning. And as always, we here at Spilling Tea hope you have a good one. Bye-bye. Oh, good God, 12 minutes. Okay, we're going to go on a little bit longer. It was a brief little talk here. It's kind of a failing in our federal system when you have them blindly providing waivers which pay for services and they are blindsided by something like this. You can't just simply throw money at a place and not realize what it is that they are doing at said place. Now, I know that it is federal and therefore they cannot have people everywhere, but a thought would be that in every regional office, at the very least at every regional office, have one person that represents Medicaid. One person. And that it would be their job to cooperate with said regional office to make sure that the requirements and standard of care are being met in order to be able to have a facility continue to receive funding from their consumers in regards to their quote unquote treatments. Because when you don't do something like this, this is what happens. You get blindsided and you are literally having to play catch up. And it looks really, really bad in the public eye. It looks like you didn't actually give a damn until it looked like you were getting ready to be dragged through the mud. So now you have to do damage control. That's what it looks like from the unobservant eye. That's what it looks like to me. It looks like damage control. It really does. So if you want any trust from any consumer at all, you got to start working more closely with the state departments. And for the love of God, you've got to uncuff your DDS department. It is literally their job to make sure that places like the Judge Rotenberg Center are meeting regulations, and to not license a place like Judge Rotenberg Center when they are not. And then, if you didn't basically tie their hands behind DDS's back, then Medicaid perhaps wouldn't have been blindsided like this in 2012, in spite of all the information that was out there since the damn 80s. You know what I'm saying here. Medicaid is stretched thin, has been stretched thin since as long as I've been alive, and it just keeps getting worse as the years go by. More and more funding is removed from Medicaid every single year, and it is harder and harder all the time for people who actually need Medicaid to actually receive it. And then you have people who do need Medicaid. They need that coverage. They need assistance in covering their treatment. And then you have people like JRC use those small amount of funds that Medicaid has to spare and use it to torture people. Yeah. There either needs to be at least one person from Medicaid in every regional office, which would be a damn near impossible feat. Or Boston, you need to untie DDS's hands. You need to get rid of that outdated, over 30-year-old freaking consent decree and let DDS do their damn jobs. I'm just saying. And now, on that note, we're going to go ahead and close out. I do hope you folks have a good one. Bye-bye.